So we're introduced to this idea of systems thinking, starting off with how to make toast, starting off with something very simple. What Wojcik suggests to us is there are three different ways we can go about doing this type of work. The first is just by doing drawings, as you did, in terms of making toast. And the drawings consists of nodes and links. He told us the average number is 48, 4 to 8. The optimal number of nodes and links are 5 to 13. So drawings is where most companies start in terms of doing systems thinking. It's the easiest way to get started. The second way of doing it is using sticky notes, putting each node onto a sticky note and then arranging the sticky notes in different ways, playing around with them in terms of sequence. And usually means increasing the number of nodes that we're using. And then the third step is to do what we call group notes, bringing together groups of people, a more elaborate approach to doing systems thinking. All right. Any takeaways from that? Any thoughts, ideas, any takeaways from that exercise? Okay, so let's take a little deeper dive then into doing systems thinking. Let me go back to the PowerPoint here. Okay, so we've established different business models. So designing workflow, we start off, it's a 4-step process as you turn to that next page. 4-step process. The first step is identifying within our company what are the operational systems that live within our company, that lie within our company. Within most companies, it's just a handful, 3, 4, 5 operational systems. They might include sales and marketing, operations, accounting, HR, the big units, operational units within every company, operational systems. So we start off, step one is to identify what are the operational systems within my company. The second step, once we've done that, is within each operational system to identify what are the processes that take place within the operational systems. So if the operational system is accounting, example of a process might be accounts payable, accounts receivable, making deposits. Okay, those would be processes that we would find inside the operational system of accounting. The next step is once we've identified the processes, we then identify what are the procedures that take place for a particular process. So if the operational system is accounting, the process might be accounts payable, and the procedure might be actually paying our vendors. How do we go about paying our vendors? That would be a procedure. And then the fourth step in designing workflow is then for each particular procedure, i.e. paying our vendors, let's design the workflow for that particular procedure. Maybe on one page, using again the nodes and the links to go through the process of identifying the sequence. What happens when we pay our vendors? What is the workflow? And so you have in your handout, you should, a couple different examples of systems workflow. This is an example of, I mentioned paying vendors. So you see on my example of here, making vendor payments. Well, what happens first? The first node is the invoice arrives from the vendor. Okay, we get an invoice from the vendor. What happens next? We check the invoice against the receipt that we had initially and make sure the invoice is accurate. If the invoice is accurate, we then go to the next step. If it's not accurate, then we have to go back and contact the vendor. If it's accurate, we put the invoice into accounting. Okay, what happens next? Then according to our company policy, we select invoices for payment, making sure that we pay the vendors within 30 days. Once we've paid the vendor, we then put the paid invoices into a folder. After we do that, we put together a report, accounts payable list showing when every vendor got paid. And then we come to our second decision point. And that decision point is, did we pay all of our vendors within 30 days? And then we finish that process, and then start over again, right? Because it's an ongoing process. So this is an example of a systems flow chart. And
Is this one in our book?
this
not
one
seeing.
it's not. In your book
Okay.
is the example of a answer the phone. Another in your book is the example of the inside sales rep getting a phone call and then mapping through how do we handle that phone call. Is it an order? Is it something else? Where does the call need to go? New customer, old customer, and so on. So you have a good example of a system workflow in your book as well. Okay.